Welcome to NTD News. I'm Tiffany Meyer. Here are today's top stories. With the new year right around the corner, the White House took some time to reflect on some of its biggest accomplishments of 2019. President Trump today announced a date for the signing of the first phase of the US-China trade deal. In the wake of recent anti-Semitic attacks, the Jewish community came together in one neighborhood in New York, prompting a standing ovation at a unity rally. Taiwan passes a law aimed at keeping Chinese communist influence out of Taiwan's politics. The bill comes during campaigns for the upcoming presidential election. As 2019 winds to a close, the White House issued a statement looking at the administration's top 10 biggest accomplishments of this year. Here's a breakdown.
Heading the top of the list is the creation of new jobs, with unemployment hitting a record 50-year low. At number 2, the stock market has been breaking records. The Dow Jones and S&P 500 hit record closes again on Friday. The working class has also been thriving with increasing wages for low-income communities. At number 4 is removing red tape. The White House says since taking office, President Trump has saved taxpayers over $50 billion by rolling back regulations. Coming in at 5 and 6 are trade. The U.S.-Mexico-Canada trade deal has been negotiated and is awaiting ratification by Congress. And trade with China has become more fair after a 17-month trade war. This year also saw a lot of action at the southern border. New agreements with Mexico and Central American countries have helped stop the flood of illegal immigration. On the health front, this year saw the largest year-over-year drop in drug prices ever recorded. And abroad, American interests are growing. NATO allies have agreed to increase defense spending. And last but not least, one dog became quite famous. Conan helped the military take down one of the world's most dangerous terrorist leaders.
The dog is incredible. Actually incredibly.
President Trump said today he will be signing Phase 1 of a trade deal with China on January 15th. He said the ceremony will take place at the White House and that he will at some point travel to Beijing to work on the second phase of the deal. The South China Morning Post reported yesterday that Washington had extended an invitation and Beijing had accepted. Until today, though, no one has confirmed that. And the Jewish Federation and Foundation of Rockland County hosted a unity rally yesterday following the Hanukkah attack in nearby Monsey, New York. Meanwhile, prosecutors filed hate crime charges against the suspect.
A unity rally was held in West Nyack, New York on the final day of the 8-day celebration of Hanukkah. A community drawn together to support each other and give thanks.
I also want to thank the law enforcement. They've been outrageous.
Police tracked a man following an attack at a rabbi's home on Saturday night and made an arrest within 2 hours of the incident taking place. The attacker, wielding a machete, stabbed 5 people attending a Hanukkah celebration before running away. The program for the Unity Rally was chosen in response to the attack and was entitled Light Over Darkness. Senator Chuck Schumer spoke on what he called an important and hallowed night.
One of anger, one of sadness, but also one of determination amongst all of us.
He also asked for God's hand to help those struggling to survive from their injuries. Federal prosecutors filed hate crime charges on Monday against the man accused of the stabbing rampage. They said he kept journals with references to Adolf Hitler and Nazi culture. The suspect, identified as Grafton Thomas, entered no plea during his brief initial federal court hearing. He was ordered to remain in custody. Defense lawyer Michael Sussman has requested a psychiatric evaluation of the suspect. Thomas's family says he has a long history of mental illness and hospitalization. He pleaded not guilty in state court on Sunday to 5 counts of attempted murder and 1 of burglary.
Residents in the Crown Heights neighborhood of Brooklyn welcomed increased security yesterday in the wake of Saturday's stabbing. Civilian patrol group Guardian Angels bolsters the efforts of the NYPD in places of religious significance.
Civilian patrol members take post outside the Hasidic Jewish headquarters in Crown Heights, New York. In bright red uniforms, they met with residents and offered assurances of safety.
People are happy to see us because we stand out.
They began patrol in the neighborhood in Brooklyn on Sunday. The Guardian Angels is a nonprofit unarmed crime prevention group.
Because we're vigilant and we keep our promises. If we say we're going to be there, we're going to be there.
Residents here feel the need for extra security in their community.
Of course, we've been feeling very unsafe for the longest while now, and it really has no reason.
This resident says that Jews have been the main target for hate crime for more than 2 decades, that this is nothing new and the problem is growing.
And on the other hand, it's getting extreme and getting more frequent.
The arrangement came about following a spate of attacks on Jews in Brooklyn in December, ahead of the latest stabbing incident at a Hanukkah celebration in Muncie on Saturday.
And now we'll hear firsthand from the hero who took down a gunman who killed 2 people in a Texas church on Sunday morning. And we must warn you ahead of time, this report contains some disturbing images from the scene.
A normal Sunday church service turned deadly. A horrifying moment, a shooter opened fire. The West Freeway Church of Christ live stream showing the gunman seated in the back pew. He stands up, speaks to a man, then pulls out a gun and fires twice. 2 armed church members react, one killing the gunman.
And I fired 1 round.
Jack Wilson, head of security at the church, is credited with taking down the gunman.
You train, but you hope you never have to go to that extreme.
Following a shooting in Sutherland Springs, Texas 2 years ago, state lawmakers passed legislation allowing handguns in places of worship and churches to form security teams.
If there's any church in this state and in America that was prepared for this, it was this church.
Authorities are still learning more about the gunman, who has been described as relatively transient by the FBI.
My understanding is more of a loner and probably going to be very difficult to determine exactly what his motivations were other than maybe mental illness.
The victims, 2 men who simply went to worship on a Sunday, murdered in just 6 horrific seconds in a church.
He always wanted us to be in the church. He was always my role model.
One of them identified as Tony Wallace, a deacon and longtime congregant of the church.
We just say God wanted him more than we did. They couldn't handle his perfectness here.
The other victim killed was 67-year-old Richard White. The gunman, 43-year-old Keith Thomas Kinnunen. He had a criminal past across the country, including violent crimes and weapons crimes. His sister said he had been living on the streets for some time and that she doesn't know why he did it, but she doesn't think it was politically driven. And 2 of the nation's biggest package delivery companies are starting the new year off with fee increases. UPS and Fedex have announced it will cost you more to ship heavy packages in 2020. Actually, new fees for UPS kick in on the Sunday before the new year. Both companies say they will charge $24 for packages that weigh more than 50 pounds. The threshold used to be 70 pounds. FedEx says its fee increase doesn't kick in until January 6th. And Brazil's Ministry of Justice announced yesterday it's fined Facebook $1.6 million for improperly sharing user data. The ministry said the data was being shared for questionable purposes.
The ministry said that it found that data from over 443,000 Facebook users was improperly made available to developers of an app called This Is Your Digital Life. Facebook is accused of failing to provide users with adequate information regarding default privacy settings, in particular, information related to data of friends and friends of friends. The ministry said it launched the investigation following media reports of the misuse of data by political consultancy firm Cambridge Analytica in 2018. Facebook removed the app, which it said was sending data to Cambridge Analytica against its policies. Facebook has 10 days to appeal the decision. The company said in an emailed statement that it's evaluating its legal options.
Thousands of students in Seattle have been warned they can't come back to school after Christmas break if they aren't current on their vaccines. This applies to every daycare center and public and private school. A new Washington state law got rid of the MMR vaccine exemption for personal and philosophical reasons. Now the only exemptions granted are for religious and medical reasons. The law comes after 87 measles cases emerged in Washington this year. It's the highest since 1990. And a new consumer protection law is taking effect in California next year that will give shoppers more control over their personal data.
Do not sell my data. Expect to see more of this phrase when shopping online in 2020. The California Consumer Privacy Act is due to take effect, giving Golden State shoppers more control over their personal data and also affecting online shoppers nationwide. Under the new law, consumers will be able to find out what personal data a company is collecting about them and choose to opt out of the sale of such information. Large retailers like Home Depot are putting up signs in its California stores. Many companies will also allow shoppers around the country to access that information online. For example, Target is adding a Do Not Sell button to its website, visible to online shoppers nationwide. The law also affects social media platforms like Facebook and Google, and streaming services like Netflix. There's no equivalent federal law yet, but the Californian law is expected to set the standard nationally for some time to come. The European Union implemented a similar law in 2018.
Protesters stormed the U.S. Embassy in Iraq today, causing destruction and setting fires. They were not able to penetrate into the main part of the facility before U.S. forces pushed them back with tear gas and stun grenades.
Protesters carrying the flags of Iranian-backed militia stormed and set fire in part of the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad. They chanted anti-American slogans and threatened violence.
The fire has reached your embassy and we will not spare an American or an American journalist.
The protests come after U.S. forces attacked the bases of an Iranian-backed militia in Iraq. The attack on the bases on Sunday was in retaliation for the killing of an American that President Trump attributes to Iran. Iran killed an American contractor, wounding many. We strongly responded, and always will. Now Iran is orchestrating an attack on the U.S. Embassy in Iraq. They will be held fully responsible. In addition, we expect Iraq to use its forces to protect the embassy, and so notified. The Iraqi government has been on shaky footing since anti-government protests started in October. These ongoing larger protests are not anti-U.S. They are about what the protesters see as corruption that is keeping them in poverty. Protesters say Iranian influence has a stranglehold on the country.
Taiwan's parliament passed an anti-infiltration law on Tuesday to combat threats from China. The democratic island is gearing up for a presidential vote on January 11th amid heightened tension with Beijing.
The bill, which is part of a years-long effort to combat what many in Taiwan see as Chinese efforts to influence politics and the democratic process, gives legal weight to efforts to stop China funding activities on the island, such as lobbying or election campaigns. It carries a maximum penalty of 7 years in jail. It will take effect after Tsai signs it into law in January. Infiltration and efforts to separate are everywhere. Only the destruction of Taiwanese democracy will let China's brusque annexation efforts stop. Taiwan is on the front line of Chinese infiltration and urgently needs the anti-infiltration law to protect national security and the people's rights. Several lawmakers from the opposing nationalist parties staged a protest in front of the speaker's podium during the parliamentary session, shouting slogans and holding banners. Supporters from pro-China political parties protested outside Parliament, calling on lawmakers to withdraw the legislation. The bill passed 67-0.
With just less than 1 day before the new year, the finishing touches are being put on New York City's New Year's Eve celebration. On top of the skyscraper at One Times Square, the famous ball now sits in wait for its debut tomorrow.
3, 2, 1, Happy New Year!
The iconic Times Square ball was illuminated and sent up atop One Times Square 1 day ahead of the New Year's Eve celebration. The ball, composed more than 2,500 Waterford crystal triangles, can display a palette of more than 16 million colors and billions of patterns. This year's design celebrates the gift of goodwill. Its pattern is made from pineapples. meant as a symbol of hospitality.
Goodwill is all about benevolence, it's all about generosity, it's all about good fortune, it's all about reaching out to your fellow man.
This year's special guests for the New Year's ball drop are high school teachers and students who advocate clean water and air, locally and abroad.
And our special guests are going to join the mayor of New York City to push this crystal button to lead the 60-second countdown to midnight and start the descent of the ball.
More than 1 million people are estimated to join the celebration at Times Square on Tuesday night. Penny Zhou, NTD News, New York.
More than 1 million people descended onto a hazy Sydney harbor and surrounding areas to ring in the new year. Celebrations continued despite the ongoing wildfire crisis ravaging New South Wales, Australia. The planned 9 p.m. fireworks over the city's iconic landmarks were delayed by 15 minutes due to strong winds, but revelers were not deterred from celebrating in a desperately needed tonic for the state. New South Wales has copped the brunt of the wildfire damage. Fires razed more than 1,000 homes nationwide and killed 12 people in the past few months. Some communities have canceled New Year's fireworks celebrations. A fireworks ban is in place across New South Wales to prevent new wildfires, but Sydney Harbour's popular display was granted an exception. And up next, China, Russia, and Iran hold joint naval drills for the first time. Are they teaming up to counter the U.S.? More on that after the break.
It's absolutely fantastic.
I don't know how you would not enjoy this.
It's like a painting coming to life.
I laughed, I cried, I was so touched.
The scenes, the sets, the costumes.
The dancing, the choreographing, the music, everything was just spectacular.
There's no words for it.
It's just heavenly.
This was the best ever.
The dancers, your mouth just drops. You're like, wow, this is just beautiful to watch.
The technique is flawless. Really, it is.
The skill and the talent on the stage are jaw-dropping.
They perform in perfect unison. They're just stunning.
The actual ambiance of the background, there was always the beautiful landscape, and it was so colorful.
I find the music amazing.
The orchestra, the instruments, it was really brilliant. So moving and so powerful and uplifting.
The idea of everybody coming from a celestial place, it's all beauty and truth and light. It's very emotional.
It gives me inspiration. True blessing to be here and witness it all.
If somebody wants to know about China, there's nothing better than seeing Shen Yun.
Shen Yun is definitely something you cannot describe.
It's something you have to see to believe.
It's a must-see.
And I would recommend this to all my friends.
Don't wait. Get your tickets now.
China's state broadcaster, China Central Television or CCTV, reported that China, Russia, and Iran completed a joint naval drill in the Gulf of Oman on Monday.
CCTV said it was the first drill among the navies of the three countries. The Chinese Navy's guided missile destroyer Xining was assigned with the mission. CCTV reported that the participating forces of the 4-day drill ending on December 30th consisted of 14 warships of various types and 4 aircrafts. On Monday, the Chinese Navy's Xining missile destroyer left a port in southeastern Iran for follow-up tasks after the drill. The Chinese Communist regime said the joint drill was aimed at deepening exchanges and cooperation among the navies of the three countries. The 4-day naval exercise underscores an informal alliance among China, Iran, and Russia.
Iranian foreign minister visited Beijing today for the 4th time in a year, a move highlighting China's close relationship with Iran, which is in a standoff with the U.S. over its nuclear program.
Iran's foreign minister met with his Chinese counterpart, who said both countries should strengthen political trust and build comprehensive cooperation. Last year, Washington withdrew from the 2015 Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, which puts limits on Iran's nuclear program. In April, it issued threats of sanctions on countries that continue to buy oil from Iran. In September, the U.S. said it would punish Chinese entities that were importing Iranian oil.
Today, we're imposing sanctions on certain Chinese entities for knowingly transporting oil from Iran. And we're telling China and all nations, know that we will sanction every violation of sanctionable activity.
Washington also sanctioned Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah and Iran's foreign minister.
Coming up, wildfires continue to cause devastation in southeastern Australia. A fire tornado overturns a fire truck along with other tragedies. More on that after the break.
Ble nua fui Shan agus fui Vasa.
Feliz Año Nuevo. Que este nuevo año tenga mucha felicidad y prosperidad para todos.
Så vill jag önska er alla ett riktigt gott nytt år.
Bonne année 2020 à tous et à toutes. Une année remplie de bonheur, de prospérité et de santé.
Chào các bạn. Chúc mừng năm mới. An khang thịnh vượng, vạn sự như ý.
आप सबको नववर्ष की हार्दिक शुभकामनाएं.
سال نو را به همه تبریک میگم و امیدوارم که سال خوب و خوشی dاشته bashim.
Vă doresc un an fericit cu multe împliniri și liniște sfântească. La mulți ani.
Buon anno nuovo, che i bei momenti di queste giornate possano diventare dei bei ricordi per il futuro. Buone feste a tutti.
新年快乐，祝大家万事如意.
אני מאחל לכם שנה טובה.
신혼의 민투르기 2020-다 амар амгалан амжилт бүтээлээр дүүрэн байх болтугай гэж хүсэн ярив.
祝大家新年快乐，心想事成，万事如意.
Yeni yılınız kutlu olsun. 2020 yılı sağlık, mutluluk ve huzur dolu olsun.
새해 복 많이 받으시고 가족 모두 행복하세요.
明けましておめでとうございます.
Frohes neues Jahr, viel Erfolg und Gesundheit im neuen Jahr.
Season's greetings. I hope you had a wonderful holiday season and I wish you a bright new year ahead.
In Australia, a fire tornado overturned a fire truck and killed a 28-year-old volunteer firefighter. Lightning strikes have also sparked blazes in the nation's eastern states, which have been enduring a long drought with tinder-dry conditions.
Orange skies that turn a bleeding red. It's a nightmarish scene across Australia as bushfires continue to burn on New Year's Eve. The blazes have destroyed more than 4 million hectares. Authorities fear that 3 people have been killed in New South Wales and another 4 were reported missing in Victoria. Fighting these fires has cost the lives of 9 firefighters so far. 3 were volunteers. And the youngest, who died on Monday, was just 28, described by New South Wales Fire Chief Shane Fitzsimmons as an extraordinary loss.
He leaves behind, tragically, a beautiful wife, Megan, who is pregnant with their first child that's due on the 4th of May.
The ferocity has never been seen on this scale before. A fire tornado overturned a firefighter's truck. Lightning strikes have also sparked blazes in the eastern states, which have been enduring a long drought with tinder-dry conditions. Survival has forced holiday-goers to hide in the water or seek refuge in boats. And in Sydney, ahead of the New Year's Eve Harbour Bridge fireworks, smoke has cloaked the city. But authorities say despite public calls for them to be cancelled in solidarity with fire-hit areas, they'll go ahead as planned.
Former Nissan boss Carlos Ghosn, who was under strict bail conditions not to leave Japan, has fled for Lebanon. Ghosn's lawyer said it was an unexpected surprise to hear his client had fled.
Ex-Nissan boss Carlos Ghosn has fled Japan for Lebanon. Ghosn confirmed the news on Tuesday, saying in a statement he refused to be held hostage by a rigged Japanese justice system. He also denied fleeing justice. Ghosn was awaiting trial in Tokyo on charges of financial misconduct, and it's unclear how he left the country. Japan does not have an extradition treaty with Lebanon, making it unlikely he could be forced to return to face trial. Ghosn has been in and out of jail since his arrest in 2018. He's recently been allowed out under strict bail conditions, but his movement was restricted and he was ordered to surrender his French and Lebanese passports. His exit from Japan is a dramatic turn in a case that's seen Gon's fall from rock star status in the auto industry. It included one episode where he was disguised as a workman to try and leave a Tokyo jail unnoticed. The former chairman faces 4 charges. They include hiding income and using corporate money for personal purposes. He denies any wrongdoing. Gon was once seen as a hero in Japan for turning Nissan around. 3 days after his arrest, the company fired him. Nissan says internal investigations found a trail of misconduct, ranging from understating his salary to transferring $5 million of Nissan funds to an account linked to his personal assets.
I'm innocent.
Gon has maintained he was the victim of a boardroom coup.
A new weight loss system is gaining traction. Intermittent fasting is still a fairly recent dieting trend, but studies look promising.
Trillions of dollars of U.S. pension funds are funding Chinese companies, many of which pose national security threat to America and are human rights abusers.
You're telling me they don't know about the Uyghurs? They do not know about the enslavement of the Chinese people? Sure they know. And they don't care.
Almost all Chinese companies have 2 sets of accounting records. One is for internal use, the other is for the tax bureau.
Our investigative reporters at the Epoch Times have spent 18 months uncovering the biggest political scandal in modern history. We connected the dots around Spygate, the actions by Obama-era officials against Trump's 2016 presidential campaign. Join me on Declassified as we bring you up-to-date developments on this unfolding scandal.
Are you tired of newspapers spinning the truth and pushing false narratives? And are you looking for honest coverage of Spygate, the true story of collusion? Or the truth behind the crisis at our southern border? Or how the Chinese Communist Party is working to subvert America and our way of life? Then you need to check out the Epoch Times newspaper. It's independent, nonpartisan, and it doesn't push any political agendas. Just go to readepoch.com and try it yourself for a full month for just $1. You'll absolutely love it.
The latest diet trend, known as intermittent fasting or going long stretches of time without eating, is gaining popularity. Scientists are now saying that the weight loss strategy may also have health benefits.
A new study suggests that intermittent fasting improves blood sugar control, blood pressure, and oxidative stress, even if you don't change what you eat. The study was conducted at LSU's Pennington Biomedical Research Center. The results show that by strategically timing your meals, you can lose weight by lowering appetite rather than burning more calories.
You eat, you don't pay attention to the calories, but you pay attention to the clock. And the clock, you concentrate all your eating, let's say, over 6 hours or 8 hours or up to 10 hours.
The technique seems to have health benefits even without losing weight or limiting calories. One participant said that after a year on the regimen, she was able to cut out her high blood pressure medication. Managing her weight also became easier. However, research on intermittent fasting is still limited, including how effective it actually is for managing weight.
And that's all for now. Thanks for tuning in. Join us again tonight. I'm Tiffany Meyer.